karibuni sana. Welcome to this channel where we spread love and positive vibes. Allow me to start by thanking our new subscribers and our returning subscribers. This is home. Welcome home, and thank you so much for supporting us. Today, I'm shooting one of the saddest videos that I have ever shot. This is because I came across something that is very, very saddening. We all know what is happening in Haiti, and today's video I'm going to highlight why people, or rather why countries, are interested in Haiti and why this war in Haiti is actually caused by people, and maybe it might not end soon. So it's a very, very sad video, and I really pray for Haiti and the people of Haiti, and I pray for their liberation. Before I come to that, I want to talk about a great woman, a very great woman I came across, and I really listened to her, and I saw Micheal Manley in her. Micheal Manley was a Jamaican that was very, very vocal on justice and talking about liberation of people and how people can be liberated and be independent financially and actually manage their own affairs. And this lady is actually the Prime Minister of Barbados. The Prime Minister of Barbados, and her name is Mottle. I came across a discussion, or rather a speech of Mottle. And this lady, I found that she's very brilliant and she's very vocal about what the Caribbeans need and what all of us need to be liberated. She talked about crime that is castrated by people. In other words, the crime that the West talk about. We always hear about crime in Jamaica. We hear crime all over the Caribbean island. And people are told, do not go to this country because there is a lot of crime, there is a lot of murder, there is a lot of raping, there is all that. And this woman, Mottle, talked about this crime. It's like it is created by people so that they can continue oppress those countries that they feel are moving forward. And it was very, very sad after going through the speech of Mottle, and then I came across this article about Haiti. So Mottle talked about the crime that is always talked about, and she highlighted the countries who are blamed for the crime rate do not actually manufacture guns. Where do these guns that are used to commit these crimes come from? And I remembered Barbecue when he was actually being interviewed by Chris Masterist. They talked about where the guns come from. And I cannot understand why these gangs have guns that are manufactured in the Western countries. Guys, are you understanding what I'm trying to say? The people are blamed for crimes, and these crimes are committed using guns, and these guns are not manufactured in the countries where the crimes are done. They are manufactured in the countries where the people are blaming others for crime. And therefore, Mottle posed a question. Where do these weapons come from? They come from those countries that later blame us for the crime rate. And she also went ahead and talked about the global warming. No one talks about the global warming, and Jamaica and Cuba are blamed for global warming. And yet, most of the vehicles that are manufactured are actually manufactured in the Western countries. And therefore, they are actually the cause of global warming, and yet they blame these small countries for the cause, for the actual destruction of climate, while it is actually them that are destroying the climate. So this is Mottle talking about all this, and then she talked about, instead of talking about the important issues how these countries can be uplifted, how they can be assisted, how they can be assisted so that their economy can rise and cater for the poor people that actually survive by $1 per day. People they keep on blaming these countries, these small countries, Jamaica, Cuba, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the Caribbean, and even Africa, for corruption, and yet they do nothing about the corruption that is taking place in those countries. I will take an example of our country here in Kenya. These guys, I hope you'll watch this video till then, because it contains a lot of information that I completely didn't know, and that actually opens my eyes on what is happening in Haiti and what can happen in these countries that we are living in. What can happen in Jamaica, what can happen in Cuba, what can happen in Trinidad and Tobago, Dominican Republic, Africa, Ghana, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, all over where the black people are. So, in Kenya here, we have a lot of corruption taking place. And unfortunately, these corrupt leaders, they are supported, they are held hands, and they are actually, you will see them smiling and talking to the people that later talk about corruption. And therefore, Monttle talked about corruption. These people talk about corruption in Caribbean, corruption in Africa. But they actually are very, very close, very, very friendly to the people that are most corrupt in this land. And they are actually the ones who support their agendas, and therefore they cannot actually interfere with them because they are actually supporting their agendas. And therefore, I loved what Mottle said. She was actually standing for the rights of the people that cannot talk on their behalf, for the poor that are dying of hunger, for the poor that cannot afford money to take their children to school like I saw in Haiti, for the poor that cannot afford a meal per day. And therefore, she talked about there have to be a collaboration, there have to be an agreement, there have to be talks so that these countries that are developing can be supported to uplift their economy, to uplift their way of life, and to actually uplift people's way of life. This is what Micheal Manley was talking about. In his time, he actually proposed free education in Jamaica from primary to university. He also proposed a bill that was actually to introduce salary or pay bills to those workers that are very, very low in the society, including the domestic workers. Micheal Manley was actually standing for the rights of the low people in the society, for the people that cannot defend themselves, for the people that cannot talk on their behalf. And Monttle, I found her talking about similar things and supporting the uplifting of the people that are very, very low in society. Ibrahim Traoré is very vocal about refusing the Western influence and actually standing on their own so that they can actually change the lives of the people of Burkina Faso and the lives of the people in Africa. Those are the kind of leaders that we actually require to stand firm, to stand united, to stand and refuse any influence from outside, and so that the Caribbeans and Africa at large can benefit from the minerals that are coming from their land. We found the other day, Jamaica has oil, Jamaica has gold, Jamaica has bauxite, Jamaica has other minerals that are not that I've not mentioned, and Jamaica has other riches that can actually change completely the lives of people. And for us to benefit, we have to follow the principles of Monttle, the principles of Micheal Manley, the principles of Ibrahim Traoré, and stand firm and united to actually grow our economies to a level that we are not going to depend on the Western people. Now, let me come to Haiti, because actually all this I was highlighting to actually conclude on what is happening in Haiti and what is the solution to the people of Haiti. So I have recommended these people because they stand firm without fear, without any reservation to say how they feel. They don't fear the influential people of the West, and they talk the truth and they highlight what is happening in Africa, what is happening in the Caribbean, what is happening in Jamaica, what is happening in Barbados, what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago, what is happening in Cuba. And when we follow such great leaders who has vision, who has seen ahead of us and what lays ahead of us, then I think the Africans and the Caribbeans can be dependent rights, can be dependent countries, and they can be independent of the people that are actually come to look like they are coming to help us, but they are coming actually to win us. Let me go to Haiti. First of all, I asked a question: why the interest on Haiti? Why all this war in Haiti? Why doesn't the war stop in Haiti? First of all, right now in Haiti, the Kenyan soldiers and the Jamaican soldiers are on the ground, helping in the name of helping the people of Haiti to restore peace. But let me go through this, and you are going to tell me whether these soldiers, together with Haitian soldiers, are actually meant to make sure the people of Haiti have peace. I started by saying the guns that are used by the people everywhere in the world are manufactured from the West. That is something to note before we go on. First of all, Haiti was one of the richest people in the Caribbean. I remember shooting a video and saying that there is a woman who actually moved from Haiti because Haiti was very, very rich, and they had grown rich in Haiti. And when Haiti started going down, she moved to Jamaica. And therefore, Haiti was one of the wealthiest islands in the Caribbean. This is because it had large sugar plantations and large coffee plantations that were thriving during those early years of pre-independence. And therefore, it was a very, very rich country, and that is what attracted French to Haiti, so that they can be able to grow coffee, to grow sugar, to grow all what was being grown in Haiti, and actually made a lot of money out of that. And therefore, Haiti has rich soils. Remember, we are looking at why the interest on Haiti, why the wars in Haiti. Haiti has rich, very rich soils that can produce a variety of crops. It can produce sugarcane, it can produce cocoa, it can produce coffee. Just like Jamaica, it is a very, very productive land. On top of that, Haiti is known to have a lot of minerals. It has bauxite, it has copper, it has calcium carbonate, it has gold, and it has marble. I think marble and calcium carbonate is the same thing. In 2013, the main industry, extraction in Haiti, actually the mining industry, extraction in Haiti was worth US$ 13 million. So by 2013, this country, its mining industry were worth $13 million US. So Haiti is a very, very rich country when it comes to minerals. And I'm going to show you how Haiti is rich in minerals and who is benefiting from Haiti's minerals, and how it is being done will shock you, will make you actually cry, because it is very, very sad So without further ado, let me go to the mining industry in Haiti. So guys, before I go to the mining industry in Haiti, I have talked about Haiti being rich in agricultural soil and also being rich in some of the minerals that I have mentioned above. Haiti also exports scrap metals, vegetable oils, and cocoa. And the United States is Haiti's main export partner, accounting for 80% of the total export. Note that. Haiti exports are scrap metal, vegetable oils, and cocoa. And the United States is Haiti's main export partner, accounting for 80% of the total export. Take that into consideration. And then, before independence, Haiti was the world's top producer, I had said that, of sugar and coffee, and was also a leader in indigo, cocaine, and cotton. So, Haiti was very, very rich. Like I had said earlier, it was actually one of the richest countries in the Caribbean. It was very, very rich. And you can see this is the case because you can see before independence, Haiti was the world's top producer of sugar and coffee and was also a leader in indigo, cocaine, and cotton. Haiti has unemployment. Now that is something else I'll come to. So you can see Haiti has a lot of riches and a lot of produce that it can actually produce and completely change the lives of the people of Haiti and completely change the poverty levels in the country. Guys, I was so shocked to learn that in some places of Haiti, people live in mud houses and they survive with less than $1 per day, and some of them cannot be able to take their children to school. And you have seen how rich Haiti can be. Very, very rich in minerals and very, very fertile soils. I want to highlight the kind of poverty experienced by Haiti before I come to the mining industry in Haiti. Haiti has an employment rate of 80%. In other words, 80% of Haitians are unemployed and therefore they are hustlers, they are people that are surviving. That is a very, very large percentage. 80% of the population of Haiti is unemployed. Apart from that, there is this Prime Minister of Haiti who talked about the riches of Haiti and that these riches of Haiti could free Haiti from Western dependency. The Prime Minister talked about that. That the riches that Haiti has, which I have mentioned earlier, can actually free Haiti from dependency on the Western countries. But look at what is happening on the ground. Half of the population live under $1 per day. They live under that $1 per day. Most of the Haitians are actually in poverty. And imagine, with all this mineral, with all this fertile soil, the government budget is actually financed by foreign countries. So sad. Haiti cannot survive on its own. The government budget is actually financed by the foreign countries. And that is what is happening even here in Kenya. I'm not saying we are better. And that is why I am highlighting all these problems so that me in Kenya, you in Jamaica, you in the Caribbean countries can learn from what is happening in Haiti, and our readers also to learn from what is happening in Haiti and actually do something about what they are actually standing for. So we have seen most of the government budget is actually financed from the Western countries. They give Haiti money that actually cater for the government budget. And here in Kenya also, we are facing the same problem. And that is why I was so sad to see what is happening in Haiti, because I know it can happen even here in Kenya. The other day, we were being told that our livestock is actually going through some problems. I do not understand what problems our livestock are going through. And therefore, there was suggested a vaccination for all the livestock in Kenya. And I actually smelled a rat there. So, the Haiti people are assisted by the foreign countries to actually be able to cater for their budget, their government budget. This is actually quite sad. And therefore, the mining that can actually be done in Haiti, I want to ask myself, can it benefit the people of Haiti, or is it going to benefit other people? And this writer was actually saying it might be a boom for the foreign investors, and it might actually be a health hazard for the people of Haiti, and I'm going to show you how. So I started by asking, why the interest on Haiti? Why all this war in Haiti? And why the Kenyans and Jamaicans are being called to assist to sustain peace, while these countries are the ones that have all the weapons that can actually sustain peace in Haiti, can actually make the government of Haiti to actually resign, and a new government that is not corrupt to take place so that Haiti can move on. I'm not saying I don't know whether the government of Haiti is corrupt, but I am trying to say they can be able to stand for the country and the betterment of the country and the improvement of the economy. But that is not what they stand for. They call upon Kenya and they call upon Jamaica to assist with the soldiers to go and actually bring peace. But at the same time, the gangs have weapons. Let me call them gangs, although I saw in the video of Christmas trees that the people who are fighting there, according to them, they are fighting so that they can liberate their country, according to them. I don't know how true that is, because we have seen also in the videos of Christmas trees a lot of homes burnt, a lot of women talking about rape and other things. But I don't want to talk about that because I have no enough information on what happens on the ground of Haiti. But I want to talk about why this was and why the interest in Haiti. And therefore, this boom of the Haitian gold, Haitian bauxite, Haitian all these minerals might be a boom to the foreign investors. According to the source, the licenses are awarded behind the closed doors. I told you I smelled a rat. The government of Haiti is claiming that the minerals in Haiti can actually make them be independent of the Western finances. But at the same time, according to this source, the licenses of mining are given or are awarded behind the closed doors by the government, whose slogan is Haiti is open for business. So the same government that is telling us that Haiti can actually be independent after these minerals are mined, they give licenses in closed doors and they declare Haiti is open for business. Very, very sad. In the hamlet of Raquev, that is a place in Haiti, in the hamlet of Raquev, near the border with the Dominican Republic, About 50 families live in mostly dirt, fraud, wet, and damp huts. These families are living in total poverty. 50 families living in total poverty in La Cueve, near the Dominican Republic, near the border of Dominican Republic and Haiti. So, these families are living in total poverty. They cannot afford to send their children to school, some of them. And one of the people that live there, who is called Another Micheal, one of the few Haitians who lives in concrete home. Remember I said the others live in mud houses? In the hillside, talked about a couple of big white guys. So in this region, there is gold mining. And according to this resident, a person who lives in that area, he talked about big white guys with a couple of Haitians. So they are white guys who comes to that region accompanied by Haitians, and they actually don't ask the owner of the land in those areas. According to this person who is called Another Micheal, these big white guys accompanied by some Haitians, they come to the Cueve and they dig some earth, they put it in their laps and they carry it. Meaning that earth they have dug actually must contain gold. So they dig that piece of land, the earth, and they carry it along with them, and they don't even ask who is the owner of the land or who occupies that land. They just dig without asking anybody anything, and they carry the earth with them. And according to this resident, he was saying the Haitians that live there, the 50 families, they cannot question these people because they have no power. These guys come and dig their earth, they take the earth with them, and they cannot be questioned by the residents because the residents have no power. Very, very sad. That is what I came to gather from that. So these white guys are actually the ones who are mining, doing this mining in a very secretive way. But the residents have no power to ask them, and therefore they come and dig and go with the minerals. So, according to this resident, they come and take large chunks of earth, put them in their king's sacks, and leave, and no Haitian can ask them a question because they have no power. La Cueve, where families grow coffee and cassava, this La Cueve is where the gold mining are, and this is where these big white guys, together with some Haitians, come and dig chunk of earth and they carry using sacks. La Cueve, where families grow coffee and cassava and dig their own minerals. Even the locals dig their own minerals to supplement their mingo income, is one of the dozens of spots that mining companies have staked out. More than a third of Haitians north, at least 1,500 kilometers, is under license to United States and Canadians to actually dig minerals. So remember, I talked about the 50 families in La Cueve, and this is where the gold is. These families actually cultivate coffee and cassava, and they also dig some minerals locally in a very, very unprofessional way so that they can actually support their amigo income, and so that they can support their children and life can go on. And this is the same spot, dozens of spots that the mining companies from United States and Canada have actually taken about 15 kilometers of the land and have been given licenses to mine. You can see now. So they have been given those licenses and they have acquired about 53 licenses and collected more than 4,000 samples. So they have started the digging and they are collecting the samples and they have acquired 53 licenses. The junior explorer teamed up with the world's known gold producer, United States-based Newmont. So this is a company from United States called Newmont Mining, and they have taken the license together with the junior miners or the junior explorers or the junior companies that are doing the mining. So they have come and combined efforts and they are now digging, and we have seen that they have dug about 4,000 samples that are to be taken for extraction of gold. And we have also seen there are other companies that have actually taken over and they have started the mining. The European, the mining is being done by this company, the Newmont Mining from United States and other small companies. And they have started digging the gold. And it is so sad because when these companies are digging the gold, no Haitian people are in charge of the mining areas, because at least the Haitian government is supposed to come and supervise the mining that is being done, whether it is health hazard to the locals, what is happening, how much they are taking, and so on. But according to the source, nobody is supervising the mining, and these companies have started the mining. And it is like after the new prime minister came to power, the companies that were actually supervising and making sure that the mining does not cause health hazard to the people of Haiti were actually not provided with finances. They are just seated there and they can do nothing because they are not facilitated to go to the mining areas, to actually supervise, to have the machines to check what is happening. They have nothing. And therefore these companies that are mining are actually mining without supervision from the government of Haiti. We control, it seems like these people are actually getting a lot from Haiti. And there was this guy who was actually boasting on a radio program, and he was saying, actually he is the European Mineral President, David Cole. And he boasted and said about Haiti. He said we control over 1,100 square miles of real estate where investors micro fuel and this is another person who is called micro fuel, wrote, it is obvious there is substantial geopolitical risk. You can imagine these are guys actually boasting, and these are guys that are mining gold in Haiti. So one of them says, we control over 1,100 square miles of real estate, where this investor, Microfuel, wrote, it is obvious there is substantial geopolitical risk in Haiti, but the geology is just so damn good. So though there are some risk, geopolitical risk, they don't mind because whatever they are getting is so much better than the risk. So you can see, these people are getting a lot of money from the mining in Haiti, and therefore they cannot allow the Haitians to take control of their country, because it means they will stop mining, they will come out of Haiti, and they will not benefit from the minerals in Haiti. And that is why I asked, why interest in Haiti? Why the war in Haiti? And that explains why maybe these guns have weapons, because when they have weapons, the war will continue. They are not ready to surrender. And that explains why Kenya and Jamaica have been taken. Why these people, with all their sophisticated weapons, with all their methods of actually keeping peace in Haiti, they cannot agree to keep peace. It is so sad, very, very sad. And that is what saddened me. The companies mining or digging the minerals, and like I have said, in Haiti, from United States of America and other companies are actually not supervised. They work with very little government oversight, or rather supervision, very little government oversight. Remember, this mining poses a risk of mercury and cyanide that is used in the production or in the mining process. And therefore, the people of Haiti actually faces a risk of cyanide. We know that cyanide is actually a radioactive element. And cyanide is actually the one that is used to mine gold. And without a lot of supervision, a lot of oversight from the government, then the people that are living in those areas, the 50 families we talked about, pose a lot of risk with this cyanide, which is radioactive. Haiti has not signed the convention law concerning safety and health of the people of Haiti during the mining and the process of mining and all that. They have not signed this document that protects the people of Haiti from the people that are mining their minerals. And therefore, it is very, very sad when Haiti government has no control of what is happening in the country, and this country has been taken by the European people. We have seen the companies that are doing the mining. Some are from United States of America, others are from Canada, and the same United States of America is actually the one that is talking about sustaining peace in Haiti. Do you think they are committed to sustaining peace in Haiti? Do you think they can actually boycott what they are getting in Haiti in favor of peace? It is for you and me to ask ourselves that question. And this marks the end of this video. See you during the next video. Bye bye and God bless.